What is up, crypto junkies? Welcome back to the channel. We're live again. So we went live last week. I brought on KNTX, who is actually one of the original members of the Crypto Junkie community. And we're kind of taking this channel in a new direction. And so not only did I get multiple people reaching out saying, hey, you should have him back. Also multiple people said, hey, you should actually let him talk this time. So we're going to do that, and we're going to talk this stream. I think we're going to probably cover some news. We're going to talk about Hex quite a bit. So if you don't like Hex, or you got preconceived notions, or whatever you got going on with it, then maybe tune out on this stream. Catch up on some of the legal stuff that we've been talking about over the last couple of videos. I got another bombshell video where I basically wrap up all these bills and all this new crypto regulation stuff that's coming out probably tomorrow. But yeah, let's bring KNTX on. And let's
hey,
dive
Jay.
Into it. Hey,
Thanks
what's up,
for having
man?
me on, buddy.
Yeah, good to have you back. So two things. Like, first off, I love constructive criticism. Like, there's a huge difference between people that are like, yo, Jay, like, maybe chill out. It's 11:30 at night for you. We know that. Maybe you took a little too much caffeine. Let KNTX talk a little bit next time. There's a big difference between that constructive criticism and like trolling and hating. So, and I always listen to constructive criticism because I think it's golden. So, anyways, yeah, I wanted to have you back on. And to me, it's special that, like, first off, it's absolutely incredible that we're still talking 4 years down the road of our crypto journey. Because let's just take a side note here. The Crypto Junkie community at the height was over 6,000 members. And we kicked them all out because nobody was showing up. Nobody was coming into the community anymore. And everyone was like, oh man, all right, well, let's give the whole story. So at that point, through 2017, everyone was like in there, like on the live chats, and this is when a lot of us were learning how to trade, aka a lot of us were losing a lot of money. Not only that, but we were kind of into a lot of these different lending platforms and stuff at the time. But then the top came in, and 2018, 2019, it's like people at that point, man, like people really got lost. People really had no idea what to do, right? So everyone kind of went in their own direction. There was a ton of people who went into ICO stuff. We dabbled into that. Like what was really popular at the time was like these little groups where everyone would pool together their money, and they were using, what was that, Prima Block, I think? I don't know if they're still around, but so we would all pool our ETH into Prima Block, or I think that was the name of it. And basically then we'd get these bigger positions that you could probably never get on your own because you needed like 3,000 to 4,000 ETH. ETH wasn't that much money back then. But yeah, so some of us went that route. Some people completely quit. Like there's probably a couple dozen people that messaged me that just said like, look, dude, I lost everything. I'm out of the game now. And that had such a bad taste in their mouth that they never came back. Even a guy who traded, I won't mention his name, but you probably remember this guy, huge part of the community, used to trade equities and securities, same thing. And and then he got burnt too, like really, really bad. And he just quit. I talked to him, I think maybe like 6-8 months ago, and he's just like, yeah, I'm selling off like my last little bit of bag and I'm fucking done with crypto forever. So that should set the tone here and set the stage, is like just what the crypto community's gone through since 2017, which makes total sense why a lot of people were just so resistant to Hex.
Yep.
I was too, and I talk about this quite often.
Yes.
But
yes, you were. Yes,
we need to,
man. I couldn't stop. I couldn't shut up in your chats about it, and I was just getting crickets, chirping crickets in your chats.
Yeah. So
he's gonna miss out on this one because of his. He needs that paradigm shift. He needs to update that worldview because he's still in that 2017. Everyone's getting screwed by these lending platforms, and I think that's actually. I want to say this is that when I really saw, after you kicked out a bunch of people, when I really saw the community not die but really go quiet was when people wanted to pivot towards the new lending platforms. You're like, no, that shit's scams. We've figured this out. We've been burnt hard on this. We're not.
No, Jay. Anymore. It's different, Jay. It's different.
It's different this time.
Shut up.
Yep.
So, okay, I don't know if I even told you this, but well, we're on stream, so you might as well just admit all your bad shit. But I had actually, so it was like, it wasn't just the lending platforms crashing and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars and dealing with that depression, and then dealing with a ton of health problems that kicked in right at the tail end there. I got fat for the first time in my life. I've always been in phenomenal shape, had fast metabolism. So there's the health stuff. I'm piling on the excuses, by the way.
Okay.
And but then
justifications, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I got involved in this this crypto project, which I won't mention a name because it doesn't deserve that. And it sucked up like a good 8 months of my time, and it turned out to be a little scamage. Turned out to be a little okie dokie. And so at that point, I was really just like, fuck, dude, fuck this space. I actually, after that, I actually took a big break. I took like a 6-month break, and I was just like, I was kind of checking in on Discord, and still writing the emails. I write economic emails, and I write crypto emails still to this day. But I took like a big break, and I was like, what are you doing? Like I paid members in my community, like they pay you to write stuff. Like you got to start writing stuff again. And so then I finally drug myself back out of the mud. But I was in deep in the sludge. And so the only reason why I talk about this all the time is, first off, I don't really care if you like it or not. I don't really care about the opinions of others in that regard. I'd say it because there's like a ton of people still hurting from that right now to this day. And there's a ton of people still hurting from the COVID dip. There's a ton of people still hurting from, the dips that we had just this year. There's a ton of people hurting from the meme coin explosion, from NFTs now that have gone down 90%.
Yep.
Collectively, NFTs have gone down about 90%. So like there's a ton of people hurting from this stuff. And it's just like the crypto space in and of itself is just so fucking weird to me, because it's like, I know of maybe 10 people who have made it out of hundreds of thousands of people. Now, granted, I'm just measuring that based off of Discords and Twitters, and YouTubes. And most of the people that I know made it on YouTube made it off of sponsorships and ref links in the description box.
It's not because of smart investment.
No. They didn't make it off of trading. The guys on Twitter, for the most part, if you're following people on Twitter, they made it from trading. Like they made bots, they got smart, like they actually figured out how the fuck to trade technically, and they made it.
But it's still amazing that a lot of those guys just went silent.
Yes. So, and okay, in that same regard, to follow up with that is, there was a sizable amount of them too that like kind of came back after like ghosting everybody and was like, yeah, hey, actually I lost all my money. Does anyone want to give me some money and fundraise? And then like the community got behind him and was like, yo, dude, this guy was, he's been here for years and blah, 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 the whole story. Let's give him some money. And there was like 3 or 4 of those like sizable accounts that I remember having that happen. And I'm watching, like, I don't log on to Twitter that much, but maybe once a week, I'm watching like 2 guys, 3 guys right now burning themselves out. Like I estimate, unfortunately, that they will be running out of money from leverage trading. And these are studs. Like these are guys who won fucking Bybit competitions a year ago, 2 years ago. Like these are absolute specimens from a trading standpoint, but it gets all of us. Like that's the thing that, and you and I talk about this all the time, is like, it gets you and you don't realize it. So it's like, you got to kind of stop after a while, and you got to be like, okay, so like me, I'm 4 years in the game, right? And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like what's actually the goal here? What are we going for?
Well, I think there needs to be that updated worldview. And that's when I lost some money trading. I tried to play the trading game. I tried the ICO game. I tried the lending platforms. I said, there's got to be a better way to get yield in crypto. Has to be a better way to get yield in crypto without taking all these stupid moves and letting a third party take all my money. Well, that's when I found Hex, and I am so glad that I did, and I'm so glad I'm an early investor in it, and it is still making millionaires. It's almost every day on Twitter, I'm seeing new people that got in, just months ago that are going, man, my stack is worth, I'm in these leagues that are tracked by what's called the Staker app, and they're like, I just hit $1 million as a squid. I just hit $1 million as a crab. Like, it's amazing. And yeah, for a while, yes, obviously it's going to be dashboard money, but there's a lot of people that are taking a lot of money out right now. You just check out the Hex Flex hashtag on crypto Twitter, and you can see there's a lot of people making money. And so I'm a huge proponent for Hex, just because you are getting that yield. You're making additional crypto just by staking it without having to hand over your keys to other people. And that's what I'm looking for, is something where I'm not handing over my keys. There's less of an opportunity for the SEC to go after that now, because they went after Coinbase hard, and now Celsius is getting the rear end of it, of these lending platforms that you hand your coins over, your keys over to, and SEC is coming hard for these people. So I'm looking for what is true DeFi, what is true to the cypherpunk movement of crypto, that not your keys, not your crypto, get rid of middlemen. How can we transact peer to peer? And I agree with Richard in a lot of things, but I agree mostly in the fact that if you're going to replace the banks, you've got to replace their products. And so slowly I'm seeing people trying to put together projects and hopefully finished products like Hex, because it is completely finished. It's modulated. It is locked code. You can't change it. No admin keys. And that's what I'm looking for, is gems like that are going to allow us to replace the middlemen known as banks without having to give up control of our keys.
Yeah, I agree. There's actually a lot to unpack there. It's like, where do I want to begin? Okay, so one thing I'll start with is, what's fascinating to me is I've learned more about Bitcoin through Richard Hart than I learned from anyone else. Any Bitcoin maxis, anybody on Twitter, anybody else. Now, granted, I'm not looking very far these days, but I just remember even back in the day, it's like a lot of the answers and a lot of like the, people would hit these people on panels. I remember watching these panels through 2017, 18, 19, and I'd watch these panels and it'd be, pro Bitcoin advocates. And a lot of times their answer was just like the same generic answer. Like they were never really willing to go deep and tell you like the story of why. And, then you get somebody like Richard, and like that guy's an open book with his involvement, and he was mining it since the beginning. He got to witness the SegWit. He got to witness the 2009 rollback. He got to witness a lot of history that most of us have no fucking idea about. We've got no clue about. And that is special and unique. And especially if it's a story that's probably fairly accurate and pretty close to the truth, regardless if people want to admit that or not, it immediately puts value on that person. And so just from that standpoint alone, I think he's insanely valuable, because if you go back to like the 2019 streams, like I love the Roger Ver stream from a year ago.
Yeah.
I've been obsessively diving in on my free time into a lot of these, because first off, I don't know if people know this, but Roger has been off Twitter since like April of this year, which is slightly concerning. But I know he went to the Nomad Capitalist live event in Mexico a couple months back. I don't know if he's sick of crypto, but it's like, if you look at what that guy fucking endured to like with the Bitcoin Cash movement, everyone thinking he was trying to steal Bitcoin, and I was dumb enough to think it too. But it's like, you see these guys, and what's happened is like, it literally is that hero's journey, that hero's arc that that they talk about. Like, how does it go? Like, first they hate you, then they idolize you, then they love you, whatever. And that's basically what both Roger Ver has gone through, and now Richard's going through. Is it's like, nobody really cared about Richard, but then when he released something and then it got traction, then it was like, okay, now the opinions came out. It's almost like people didn't really know where to class him. And he stood up to what's that Australian guy who pretends to be Satoshi? Who cares? Craig Wright. Yeah. And so he stood up to him. I remember seeing that video, and like in public called the guy out, which again, like, show of hands of how many people who've done that in person. Like face to face, you're in front of the guy, and you're
literally
saying, hey,
in person, was like, ready to stand up on stage and say, "Here's all the reasons why you are not Satoshi and you claim to be.
You're full of shit." And then the guy's like, "Okay, I'm done," and then he walks off. Because I think Richard was like kind of like edging on his chair, like getting ready, like, "Cool, I'll come up and we'll take this on." And so, anyways, my point with all of that is like, like, just sit there and think about these things for a second. Is like, who is really left in the crypto space that is talking about the true history of Bitcoin in and of itself, and is talking about like the real shortcomings that it's got. Like, when was the last GitHub update? When was the last update pushed live? And this Lightning Network on Twitter is not, I'm sorry, that's not even fucking news, dude. No. Lightning is not Bitcoin. No. And so that to me is not something to be celebrated with a currency that's supposed to take over as the global reserve currency. That's like,
I wish I could take credit for these original thoughts, but there's more money wrapped up. This is Richard Hart, that I learned this from listening to, but there's more money in Bitcoin wrapped on Ethereum than there is in the Lightning Network. Like, Ethereum is the second layer now. And it is. And with Lightning now, you've got fiat dollars are being wrapped on Lightning Network now. It's not even specific to Bitcoin. You can wrap Ethereum on Lightning now. So Lightning is not Bitcoin, guys. And Lightning is a failed product. Failed project, and
it really is
going away.
No, well, okay. And then another thing to look at is nobody's wrapping ETH on Bitcoin, are they? Fuck no, dude.
Nope.
It's too hard. It's way too hard.
They don't want you building on it.
Yeah, they really don't. And so
they don't want programmable money.
That's not a reserve currency, guys. No. It's maybe digital gold, maybe.
Yep.
I think it's already done phenomenal in comparison to real gold. Real gold is sitting at like the value it was maybe 10 years ago. I think slightly above that right now. Silver's looking like it's going to correct down back to like $16.
Adjusting for inflation, it's actually down.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of big things on the horizon now. And I think that, oh, that was the other piece that I wanted to grab from what you covered is you talked about true DeFi. I think that all this stuff, we've been covering it pretty closely on the channel. I think they're going to have the hardest time trying to box Hex in that. I think there's like maybe a handful of cryptos that they're going to have a really hard time trying to box in. And Hex is going to be at the top of that list because how he did distribution with the minting in the beginning, how everything from day one was don't expect any monetary outcome from the work of others. Like he never slipped from that narrative. Not a single moment did he slip from that narrative. And so there's nothing that you can get on this. Even if you go and change the, they might be able to come in if they change the definition of stable coins. But I think that would still put it at 50-50 passing the Howey test, depending on how the rest of them break down. I think you'd still pass. And it wouldn't fail the Securities Act of 1933, even with the changes that they're making. So I think they're going to have a hard time even trying to come at Hex. I think they're going to save it for down the road if they even do. It's going to come like at the end, after they've already nicked all the
hanging fruit.
And that's the exchanges.
Hanging fruit.
That's the exchanges. They're going to hit them first, which if we want to pull up screens for a sec, they already hit Kraken for, this will be the first of many. And I got Ken actually controlling because we don't have our StreamYard set up. So thank you for that.
Hey, not a problem.
He's actually hosting us. So he's very, very generous host.
That'll change soon. That'll change soon.
Yeah, it will. And so, yeah, if we could, let me share this one here. All right, so Kraken got their first pinch for just $1 million, which is very small money for even Kraken. You know, Kraken has different vehicles that they make a lot of money off of. Okay, even just spot trading, they make a lot of money off of the spread in the books and market order pricing and things like that. But so they got their first one, and here's what it was for, because the CFTC is claims that they offered illegal margin digital asset transaction services, aka margin trading. So, all right, here's going to be the big players. It's going to be the CFTC. It's going to be the SEC. It's going to be the Federal Reserve, because get this, they're actually looking to extend the Federal Reserve Act, which right now, currently, the Federal Reserve is not who prints money, even though a lot of people think that. It's actually the Treasury that does, but they kind of do it in collusion with the Federal Reserve. Like they talk together, they decide how much, Congress passes its little bills, and the Treasury actually prints it, right? And what they're looking to do is actually expound on that and allow them to create the digital US dollar and essentially print it and distribute it, which they've never really had all those powers in one up until all these rules that they're essentially changing and making. And again, we'll have a video outlining all of this. It's going to be long. It's like a 26-minute video. It'll probably be uploaded tomorrow where we break all this down, but it's already starting with them starting to go after exchanges, because that is the lowest hanging fruit. And then it's going to be like, networks that are really obviously not DeFi but claim to be. And they're going to try and pin some heroes, and they're going to try and shut down a lot of guys. But there's going to be a ton of falling out of this. Some of it will be good, like derivatives and options trading will probably get pinched pretty hard, and only a few of those players are going to survive. Like I just have a hard time seeing like Bybit and Deribit. And Deribit does options mostly, but they do derivatives too. Bybit does all derivatives, essentially inverse and perpetuals. I have a hard time believing that all these players are going to stick around, if I'm being honest. Because it's like the amount of paperwork and jujitsu that they're going to have to jump through to get approved to be a licensed security provider is a lot, man. Like it's a fucking lot. Like just go down to Wall Street right now and try and open up a securities get your securities license for a brokerage of any sort. Like how long does that shit take, dude?
Takes forever, and then they'll go months without telling you what the outcome is. Then they'll tell you no, and then they won't tell you why you got voted down as a no. So it's not an easy thing. It wouldn't surprise me if the Chicago Board of Exchange, the CBOE, is the only one that ends up doing all the legal trading of these derivatives and these digital assets, because it's a lot easier to regulate one controller or one guy that you already have your hands up the back of them like a puppet. So
and look at what they do on a daily basis with gold and silver.
Yep.
I mean, they completely manipulate that market. JP Morgan actually finally admitted to 12 years at least. They think that there was more, but they admitted to 12 years of gold and silver, aka commodity exchange manipulation, and they paid like a multi-billion-dollar fine. But how much did they just make over the last decade? Like, get out of here. So you think that's going to just like magically stop, and that now they all of a sudden care about people and want to bring in all this protection? Like, come on, dude.
It's not. That's the biggest farce to me is when they say, "Oh, it's for retail investor protections." No. It's to protect those who already have a stake in the game and prevent new participants from coming in and competing against the people that are paying you. That's really what it is. That's what's so frustrating about it to me.
That
is that they do it under the guise of consumer protection. No, actually, you're the ones keeping these people from experiencing wealth while protecting the old players in the game.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, the old boys. And if they really cared, like, where have they been for the last fucking 4 years?
Yep.
I mean, Bitcoin's been around for 10 years, so where have they been?
Yep.
And like 2017 was a record high amount of lending platforms that scam. I mean, BitConnect itself was over $2 billion in scam, which, fun fact, I don't know, maybe you would know, but I don't know what happens to this money, but they recover all this money, right? Like, I hear about them recovering all this money. Like, are we all going to get our checks? Are we all going to get some of that money back?
Where's my check at? Where's
my check at?
Where do I sign up for and tell you what my username was on the platform and how much I got scammed for? Yeah.
Because tell you what, I'd probably like rather just give that to people in the community that did way worse than us. Because even though I lost hundreds of thousands in just that one alone, it's like, in comparison to some people, like, they lost everything. You know, they had some suicidal thoughts after that. So like, give my money to them. But I don't think anyone's going to get any money out of that.
I know, that's the unfortunate. Well, look at what happened with Mt. Gox. The custodian still hasn't handed all the coins back.
Still tied up.
Yep.
Still tied up. So,
and they're selling it. They're selling it, and they're getting the value. With my understanding is the money that they're paying back to the people that had their money on the exchange. They're getting it at the 2016 rate or 2015 rate at the time of the hack, and they're selling it at today's rate. So who gets that spread?
Who's getting the spread? That does make sense though, because okay, and let's be fair about this from a legal standpoint, is how the fuck would you figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is actually fair in that scenario? I actually was thinking about this quite a bit myself.
Give me my coins back. That's all I want. I want my coins
back.
back.
So it's either
let me take care of that.
Give the coins back, or if we're going to try and like equate it to some US dollar value, like, you got to at least pad me 10-20%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many years has it been? I mean, and that probably would only be like 3-4% a year, which I guess that's pretty standard rate. So I think that'd be acceptable for the government to pad a little extra in there. I don't think they're going to see that though. So that whole spread is like going somewhere.
Yep.
Where's that going? So, okay, another thing I want to bring up, just real quick news piece, is just so you guys get this in your brains now, is they're going to really push the equality piece, which we all know is bullshit, with the CBDCs. And so what they're going to tackle and try and claim that they care about, Ripple tried to do this and did a horrible job with its attempts with MoneyGram, et cetera, is cross-border payments, cross-border remittance. Basically, what exists outside of the United States is this whole system called the Hawala system. And essentially what it is it's money changers. It's like you walk up to a booth, just like you did in the old days, and you got your US dollars, and you want to convert it into something else. And they on the spot give you an exchange rate. It's like OTC in its purest sense, right? Mm-hmm. And that exists in a lot of the Middle East, Asia, et cetera. And there's millions of people that are unbanked. And it's funny because you even see some DeFi and projects that like claim to like bank the unbanked, but they really don't care. And to be honest, I don't think anyone that uses the Hawala system gives a fuck to change that anytime soon. They don't want bank accounts.
Why would you want someone else to come in?
Why would you want somebody up in your business?
Yeah.
So they're going to push this. Just keep an eye out because they've already been doing it quite a bit, but it's going to really heat up as CBDCs start to get rolled out. Is that it's going to be like this whole equality march and narrative, but it's still going to keep the same people boxed out that are boxed out right now that had to create the Hawala system in the first place. It's going to still be negatively affecting them, just like the dollars and the bank accounts and the vehicles that exist now, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
I want to say something to that too here,
sure.
Just so everybody is aware. I don't think that the BIS and the CBDCs are working along the same. There's kind of some infighting going on. I don't think you're going to see the IMF line up with their point of view. And the reason I say that is because the IMF wants SDRs to be the new basket of currencies, wants to be the new reserve. And so I think you're going to have some contention between some of these central banks and the IMF because they're not in alignment.
I think it's going to be a battle of elites, like groups of elites, because like people think, oh, it's like let's go into conspiracy land for a second. I guess we got to call it that so YouTube doesn't get mad. But it's like this Illuminati is like this one group. I don't think so. It's not that simple. It never is. There's multiple groups, all with controlling interests. Sometimes those interests align, and so they get to do a project or a job together, however awful that might sound. And then sometimes they're just operating in their own best interest. And the IMF, I would agree. I think if they're going to go for anything, they're going to push the SDR basket. That's been around for a really long time. When was that created? I always mix it up. Maybe 82, 81 it was made. So let's just look it up. SDR basket.
Yeah. So these, and the funny thing is the central bank digital currencies, it's nothing
69.
different. Okay, wow. So it's that.
We were way off. So I remember hearing that it was like in the papers back in the 80s. So that would make sense. So then it was created in 69. Yeah. Okay. I was mixing up my dates.
IMF is not in alignment with the central bank, or at least the Federal Reserve.
I don't think so either.
I think they're vying for control. And I don't know how they think they've got the economic powerhouse to make that the case, unless they can get Russia, China, and Brazil to buy onto it, so they control all the hemispheres. But all of them except for the Northwest Hemisphere. But I think that you're going to see. I think you're going to see the CBDC is just a duplication of what already exists. It is already a digital dollar. So the central bank already has a digital dollar. This is just an easier one to track. They want you to have a wallet because they can see everything, transparency as to everything you've ever bought with it.
Yeah, yeah. And so basically they're going to fit into two things, is digital asset, which is going to be a commodity, and a digital asset security, which is going to be a security. There's no in between. There's no other options. It's one or the other. And both are going to fall into different rule sets. The commodities rule sets are just going to roll into the existing structures, and so are the securities. But they will be top dog in rolling out the central bank digital currencies. They want those to sit on top of all these cryptos. And they're going to operate 100% off of, it's even already in the legislation, it's going to operate off of a ledger technology. And that the one that cannot be audited, not changed, and it can't be, manipulated in any sort of way. It's just a true an account of everything. And they want to, because now that they can group Bitcoin, ETH, and all forks as a commodity, they can bring those ledgers over. And now they want to have one transparent location where everyone can see all the history across all chains since they were created. And that is very concerning from a sovereignty standpoint. Gets my skin crawling here quite a bit. Yeah. And man.
I mean, the most transparency, other than I will say with like Dash's 3-card Monty technology to hide your transactions, and currently, because it's cryptographically sealed, the Monero ring signature transactions, the absolutely number one anonymous way in this world today to transact is the hard, cold US dollar bill. Like that is how most money is transacted with around the rest of the world. I've got stories from guys who do a lot of work on helicopters and oil fields in other countries, especially Africa and the Middle East. And it is not uncommon for a guy to be walking across borders with a backpack full of cash to pay off the appropriate parties. So it's 100%. The only way that there's true anonymity right now. So why do you think they're trying to get rid of printed money?
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't really want it around because they can't track it.
Yep. Excelsior I knew KNTX got around. Laugh out loud. Good to see you. Good to see you too, Excelsior.
Yeah, hey, you know what? Let's take a second. Welcome everybody to the stream. Super appreciative and thankful that KNTX jumps on. I know he pulls people over from the Hex streams that you guys do. So thank you guys so much for coming over, checking out our channel. If you like it, take a second, subscribe, and drop a comment, ask us some questions, whatever you guys want. It's I can't see the chat. I haven't quite figured out how I can open up YouTube live stream and still be running StreamYard and have it not conflict. I'm pretty sure it will. But anyways, I'm going to bring my screen.
It won't conflict. You just have to make sure that you just have to make sure that you have it silenced, have it muted, or else.
Yeah, because then it's going to create echo.
Yeah, you'll hear it on both sides. You can also click at the top right hand of the screen, the comments. You can actually see the comments from YouTube. This is the only ones that are
there it is.
The stream right now. So
there it is.
Did not tweet out this system.
Did not tweet out the stream.
Yeah, you guys, thanks. Don't panic for tweeting it out. I saw that you tweeted it. Children of the Grave, thanks for joining us.
We got to talk about that in just a second. But okay, pull up my screen. You were just talking about mixers and Monero. Well, guess what, guys? They got a plan for that too, unfortunately. Criminalizing the use of privacy coins and anonymizing anonymizing services. I'm not even going to attempt to say that again. The Bank Secrecy Act is going to be amended to sanction the use of basically these vehicles. Okay, so this is any kind of mixer, any sort of anonymity product that exists right now. And since it's going to fall under federal coverage now, you're going to face up to either $250,000 fine. I think this is per use. I could see them totally getting into per use because they've done that before, or imprisoned up to 5 years or both.
Yeah.
So there's your answer there.
I know. It's
Monero,
this is why we talked about this on the last live stream together. This is why we need crypto as a whole, regardless of whether your coin is crap or my coin is crap or whether we agree. We need to, if you've made any gains at all, we need to put together political action because they're making rules without us. We have to be at the table. We absolutely have to be at the table while they're making
this is what's so frustrating, right? Like we're sitting here talking about like what actually fucking matters, which is all of these bills and this regulation. And then you'll have guys come into the stream and they'll be like, oh shit, Hex, guys, I can't talk about this. This is poking my sore spots. I'm not supposed to because the bros on Twitter will roast me and make fun of me and they'll call me a scamage, even though they're all scamming. And I can't do it, guys. It's like, dude, stop. Like fucking stop behaving like that. And it's like you have to kind of set aside your own personal bullshit for the bigger collective good here. And like this is why I think it's so important to give you guys more airtime because it's one of the most hated projects out here. But what's funny is like after you came on the last time and the few times I've now been sprinkling in Hex into the videos is the amount of people that like low key reached out to me and was like, hey Jay, man, I'm really glad you talked about Hex. You know, I've been in since the beginning, but you know, I don't really talk about it because you know, and that's how the messages go. Yeah, because you know, and that's the message. And it's cool to see like people now that are like, oh shit, okay, I can be myself now. Like, yeah, I fucking love this project. I can be me now. And like, I'm the same way. Like, I absolutely love the project. I got in before the big payday. In case anyone was wondering, no, I'm not going to share how much I got going on. I never probably ever will.
Billions.
Yeah, and like that's an OPSEC piece that let's go down this rabbit hole for a second. That's an OPSEC piece that you guys really got to be careful of, man. Whether it's Hex and you're going to be a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, whatever, or it's some other thing. It's like the first tendency, and I know because there's like a lot of people that maybe they didn't get a lot of attention in school, and maybe they're the outcast in school. That tends to be a lot of the crowd in crypto. Is don't go thinking that like now that you like made some money, you're going to be like a cool kid on Twitter and stuff and sharing screenshots with data because they're going to back this thing up and they're going to be able to find all that. And so from an OPSEC standpoint, it is awful idea to be sharing specific details of your current holdings, what coins you like, any of that. Like even I would go as far as saying like, I understand that Richard is going around and doing meetups. He doesn't live in those countries, guys. No. If you're going to like crypto-based meetups in the state, in the country that you live, I'm going to say that I think that's a bad idea. It's a bad idea to the degree that if you go starting to talk and like, you know how it is, like you kind of hanging out with people and you're like, oh man, he's just like me. He likes the things I like. You have no clue if those people are legit or if they're playing a role or if they're an undercover agent. Like we just saw on the 1 year celebration of the Freedom Rally for the January 6th, whatever the fuck happened at the, there was like this march or rally, right? And they spotted probably 24 or so undercover FBI agents, local police, everybody was basically undercover. That's what you can expect. And now to do that in a foreign country, because I'm in a foreign country, I'm in Asia, and I'm seeing all the time, on a public Facebook group, these people are like, hey, who wants to start a crypto meetup? It's like, guys, slow down. I know you want friends and you've been locked up. We've all been locked up for like the last fucking 2 years. Take a deep breath though, because if you're living here in a foreign country that you don't have a residency to, you don't have a second passport here, and your primary passport is a US passport, you are a US resident. And now you're in a foreign country to where they might start to look at you as a target. And how hard would it be? Like here at the bars, there's undercover police that go to the bars. Because what they're looking for is they're looking for people to transact additional drugs at the bars. And so you go to the club and there's going to be a handful or more undercover police at every big club here. Like you don't think they're doing the same thing in the crypto meetups? Like, oh, they can't infiltrate it. Like, stop it. They do. And what they're going to wait for is, and they're going to try and do is get you drunk, get you excited, thinking that we're having a bro talk, and you're going to start disclosing things. and then you get raided, you go down to immigration. I mean, guys, like, you really got to be careful about this shit. And if you're just visiting somewhere, like, cool, man, talk your heart away. I think the Hex community is very, very different too, because for the most part, there's not a lot of bad actors, let's call it, in the space. And I think like a lot of you now have known each other for so long. It's like, if you were to do a physical meetup, you're like, oh, that's that guy, that's that guy. And so it'd be very hard. It's
almost weird to call people their real names now, because everyone just calls them by their avatar now when we do finally have meetups. So
yeah, and so it'd be really hard to like, I think, infiltrate that to a deep degree. Like, you could get in a couple layers, but I don't think they would have very good luck getting very deep into that. But you know, in general, I think from an OPSEC standpoint, people should be really, really rethinking that, because it's like, we got a foreigner traveling to this country. He's at a crypto meetup. What are the odds he has a ledger on him in his villa? What are the odds? What are the odds? Because everything out here.
What's the odds he has a wallet on his phone?
Yeah.
And most of us are smart enough to know not to have wallets on your phones, but.
Yeah. And so it's like, villas get broken into, man, all day. They'll just pay the security guard. Because again, like, there's payoffs here. There's a lot of, I guess, old school business tactics that are still like wide open out here. So it's like, yes, they will just literally, you think you're safe because you got a security guard and you're like, give him a high five. Maybe you bought him a coffee. Maybe he's like super cool to you, right? And you've been staying at the villa for a week now and you think that you're buddies. You're not. He will sell you out in a heartbeat. He'll take the cash from them, go and probably open the front door for you, for them. And they'll rob your laptop. So all your history, right? Because who's closing out and deleting all their history before they like go out to the bar? I don't want to have to relog in later. You know, like, just good even point. Basic stuff like that. So it's like they're running all modern software. You don't think they're going to just plug in a USB cracker and like crack your password in like less than 5 minutes, or just steal the laptop and do it later? They're able to steal iPhones and completely brute force through eye scanning technology, the thumbprint technology out here, and then get rid of the Find My iPhone app and resell these daily. There's black markets that happen here from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning, where they are reselling all the shit that they just stole at the nightclubs from the night before. These are countries that run on tourism. Like, these are harsh realities people just don't even think about. And I'm seeing these people like jump in a public group, like, let's start a crypto meetup. It's like, no, fucking let's not. Just calm down.
I would say that the Hex community is very unique in that regard, because a lot of times it's filled with a bunch of people that have been around forever, for at least a year. So you've gotten to kind of know them and their digital personalities. But I'm going to be honest with you. There's a reason I didn't go to the Vegas meetup last June. Like, I haven't publicly talked about this on my channel, but you guys go ahead, go laugh it up and yuck it up and have fun. But you're a target out there. I was trying to tell people 100%. Before they go. I said, do not take your phone. Even if it just for the sake of your own personal information, go get yourself a freaking burner phone, give that phone number out to people, and they can contact you on the burner phone. Like, if that's what you're going to do, if you're going to go play that game, I don't want to see people taking their ledgers, their laptops, or their regular phones to the meetup with them.
No, and it's
vaulted safe at your residence, and then you go.
Please, because it's so crazy, dude. Like, you're staying at the hotel that's hosting the event, and it's like, oh, yeah, I got my ledger right upstairs. Stop it. You know, we've already seen now that the SEC will go and serve up at these events. They'll crash that event and go serve some papers.
Shoot, they're tearing into lockboxes right now.
Yeah, we covered that. We covered that. 800 block boxes. They still haven't proved any of the reasons why they broke in, but they kept all the money. Good news, they kept the money. Good for them. You know, they need more awful suits and horrible haircuts. So, you know.
Yep, exactly right. So I have even protected my own ledger and my own devices in multiple geographic locations, multiple vaults, and even protected it from myself having access through legal trusts, backed by insurance products. So that's a whole nother level. But I've done that so that someone comes and tries to kidnap my kids, and I don't have access to my crypto. So you guys are wasting your time coming in and trying to attack my family, trying to get to my crypto, because I don't have access to it. I have purposely taken myself outside of that, and there's ways to do that and still protect your wealth. So,
and speaking of protection of wealth, is I have to throw this in there, is I think that, okay, first off, people don't understand what's going to happen if hyperinflation hits. If hyperinflation hits, Bitcoin's going to go down too. Hate to break the news to you. Bitcoin is not going to go up while the dollar crashes and plummets. It's not, because it's going to hit a threshold moment where people are going to look around and go, oh, fuck, this is the big one. And so they're going to be running out of crypto markets to get it back into cash just as quick as they're selling everything else off, because they got to eat tomorrow. And they got to get in the bread line now to pay $30 for a fucking loaf of bread. But that being said, I think Hex, because it's already proven itself, it was launched in a bear market. I think something like that is completely, what I love about it is like Bitcoin goes up, it goes up. Bitcoin goes down, it's still doing its thing. It's running out its own technical patterns, which there's so little manipulation going on Hex. The charts are so beautiful to look at and do TA on, because you can actually do TA on it still. Now, if there was all kinds of leverage derivatives and fucking dog shit
wash trading
you would not be able to chart it the same way.
Non-transparent central exchanges, we don't have any of that. You go on nomics.com and it's the only coin that has an A trend, at least in the top 10, that has an A rating for transparency, because it's all on the blockchain. There's sites after sites after sites that give more insight on trading information, staking information, and analytics of the coin than any other coin out there.
I agree. And so look, I'm not like, my position would never be like sell everything and get this thing over here. But to not have an allocation of it, I think is so silly. Like, wow. You must like hit your head recently. Because it's just like when we look across the board and we look at risk and we look at measuring risk, it makes it almost impossible not to have a product like that in your arsenal, right? It is just essentially a digital CD version of what the banks are already doing. So as part of your strategy, it should have an allocation in there. What was I going to say? Okay, so hyperinflation hits, Bitcoin's going to go down at a certain point, just like everything else. Hex is kind of doing its own thing by itself over here, and it technically is doing its own thing. Oh, that was going to be my point. Most people never caught this. There was another big jump after the COVID dip, and a few guys caught it, but most didn't. Like, it used to be actually still fairly easy to chart Bitcoin and trade Bitcoin technically through 2019 through 2020. But when the COVID dip hit, there was something that fundamentally changed. And by the end of 2020, I saw more guys get wiped out than I'd ever seen any previous year. What also happened? Well, coincidentally, every fucking bank bought in last year at the COVID dip. So the COVID dip was probably triggered on purpose so that they could get their allocations and they could get their positions put in place. So now what we're seeing is like patterns aren't playing out, like even advanced patterns. Like, you're having to get confluence if you want to trade Bitcoin technically with like 3-4 different oscillators, with 3-4 different charting patterns. We're having to overlay a lot of patterns to get good odds. Like the value, the rate of odds that you used to be able to get, like you could play some positions off RSI bounces like a year ago. You cannot fucking do that now. You'll get wrecked. And you could, patterns would just play out a lot better back then. And they're just not doing that now, because it's in its early phases of huge amounts of manipulation. So it will not behave the same technically. It'll keep getting broken and wrecked, and patterns that are like really close to playing out won't, and it'll go the other way, and all kinds of fuckery is going to happen now while it's in this small short phase of getting maximum fucked. And then when the regulation hits, then it'll kind of slow back down and cool off. It'll never probably hit highs like we've seen or are going to see.
The huge run-ups.
Hopefully, but you'll be able to trade it technically to a lot better degree, like you would the stock market, right? So I just wanted to say that, because I know a lot of guys are still out there like thinking that, I'm still trying to trade. I still want to hit it big. They got to make up losses, and it's like this junkie mindset. And crypto junkies here, so I get it, right? I will say though that like you got to have some sort of backup plan, man, in case you wipe yourself out, you get liquidated again. And I know a lot of guys are still trying to trade. I'm not trying to say don't. I'm trying to say get other things going so that even on bad trading days, like you feel good about something. And that's another mental piece that I don't think people realize is like, how good do you feel, Ken, when you see like shit dipped and you're sitting on a big fat bag of something? You feel good, right?
Being in Hex, I do.
Yeah, it's like
even when my price goes down, I look at it as another buying opportunity to buy the dip, and at the same time, I'm making interest trustlessly every day. So
it doesn't hit you the same.
No,
it doesn't hit you the same.
I
And it doesn't hit you the same.
Oh crap, how am I going to pay the mortgage next week?
Yeah, it's the same for like guys who got like 3-4 investment properties. When you got your first investment property, you start to feel a little better, right? But then you get 5 and you're like, shit, dude, that's not so bad. This inflation stuff's not so bad.
And I can still eat tomorrow. Yep.
Right. So it's the same thing here, man. Like, stop going all in with everything. Get a little thing set off to the side, right? Some holdings, some cold storage. Let's not touch it, and just let that go to work for you. Plus, too, on like days where you lose your ass, you got something like Hex rolling. Well, I mean, I check back quite often, and there's many days where I get like 30% plus that day for APR. So it's like, It's a pretty good day. Yeah. Even though I just went and lost my ass day trading. Well, I made it back right there. So.
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And I don't know if there's a whole lot of input I can put on this, but I think you would be great for this, Jay. In future episodes, can you guys go over things like pancake swap and yield farming?
We can. I have, unfortunately, a good amount of experience.
I know you have slummed in those alleys. Let's just.
I have, and I've gotten rugged in those alleys as well.
Yes.
So I got to experience losing money, waking up and figuring out that it got hacked, and then losing money, which is always so exciting.
Yeah. You guys were into those pickles and that cream for so long.
Never did pickle.
No,
never did pickle.
That was our buddy in the chat.
Yeah, that was prime. But I mean, I got into pancake swap or pancake really early on, like Cake, the ticker. I got into that when it was like, I think $1. So I did really, really good on that, and I was farming it, and it did well. So anyway,
I know there's some people even in the Hex community that for income, they have taken a portion of their income and they are on Polygon, on Matic, and they are providing liquidity on stablecoin versus stablecoin pools. So they're getting 0.3% of the transaction fees of people arbitraging between the two stable coins, and they're making a pretty decent. It's not enough money for me to worry about the headache, but it's good money for them as far as being able to pay their rent and it's obviously you don't have to worry about anything rugging on you there because you're arbitraging stable coins, and you just make a transaction fee off of people arbitraging it. So
yeah, I agree, and I think that's on the safer side. Polygon and BSC. Like, I don't trust BSC at all. I actually
me either.
I had this crazy dream in like the middle of summer. It's when I was like balls deep on BSC network, and I was just like, I had this dream where it went down, and I don't know, it was just so compelling that I literally woke up and sold everything that day and just got completely off the network, and I haven't gone back. It's because, like, you got to look at what's happening here. Like, FTX is going to make it because they already paid Biden $5 million while he was still running as a candidate. On top of that, they're literally probably doing a lot more padding in backdoor meetings. And that's just how the game is played. But Binance, on the other hand, I think Binance is going to be the shining example they're going to use. I think they're going to shut down Binance completely. I think Binance is fucked. And CZ, that squirmy little shit, is not going to protect your data. He's going to bend over and give it to him on a silver platter. And so BSC network, there was the complaints in the beginning that they were like manipulating volume and just moving around shit a bunch within internal addresses and Binance to get it to look like there's all this volume that there wasn't. And that was concerning. But then being on the network and watching, it's like, how many hacks have there been now on BSC coins? It's like 20 plus have been hacked. Yeah. So it's like, you got that aspect. The smart contracts being launched suck. The projects that are being launched are just money grabs.
It's the new Tron, bro. It's the new degenerate chain, just because it's
100%.
It's easy
100%.
and cheap to deploy. Yeah. And we're gonna see a lot of that on Pulse Chain too. A lot of those bad actors.
100%.
Pulse Chain, but that I think you're gonna see more of the actual cypherpunk sovereignty, self-sovereignty, hold your own keys mentality there. So I think you're going to be a lot safer on Pulse than you are with BSC.
I agree. Let's talk about that for a second. You just had on Actor, which I thought I saw him in movies, but maybe not, because I went and checked out his IMDb and BD, whatever the site is, and I didn't see him. But like, here's the consistent.
Kyler Kaufman, shout out.
Kyler Kaufman
on our show earlier today. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So the thing I was going to tell you in the green room is that I noticed there's like a lot of the similar energy with especially like 25 and younger, which is basically like, they're not stupid, right? Even though everyone's like, oh man, Gen Z and the younger generations are so fucked and they're so stupid. But there's like a huge amount of them that like even though they're not like out in the streets complaining and crying about what's going on, they see what's going on. And he's one of them. And the Hex community really tends to pull those people in. Like, look at me, look at you. We're the same version of that, but just a little bit older.
Yep.
And it's like the guy who thought that this is what we were going after, right? Like, they see what's happening. They see basically there's like this two legal system thing going on where there's rules for us, but not for, bankers and elites, whatever you want to call them. And they're like, yo, I need other options. And they're looking around. And then they're going from community to community because, like, if we're gonna be real here, I think Hex is one of the best communities because it's open, and they don't like try and shut you out, or it's like you gotta learn the meme language to be like a cool kid, or it's like their way of like being nice to you is to like talk shit about you and like break down and like come at you for what you just said. I've seen all those iterations playing out in communities, and where it ends up is a net negative. It ends up pushing people away because they either don't understand, like, wait, is this guy just like making fun of me?
Yeah.
Like, are they just trying to like break me down? And so it's just all these weird, toxic fucking rule sets that exist in these communities. So it's like, yeah, people naturally are going to bounce through all of that, probably lose a bunch of money. And if they're lucky, they're going to find something like Hex, right? And it's unfortunate that it gets all the gatekeeping that it does, which one of the biggest things that you'll see is with the CoinMarketCap, CMC. So what's funny about that is Yahoo Finance aggregates the same fucking data, and they have Hex at number 3 on Yahoo Finance, but yet Hex is number 201 on CoinMarketCap.com.
It's
Why?
literally manually
It's the same data.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's manually being gatekept. Yeah, it's just stupid.
I don't think it's going to play out well for them. I've talked to the legal team that is.
I don't think so either.
That's driving the
legal
argument against. Yeah, so I've talked with them. I don't have a whole lot that I can share, just out of fact that I don't know a whole lot. But I have talked to the legal team that is suing for the class action lawsuit on behalf of the Hexicans that have brought forth the suit. How much money it has cost them for CoinMarketCap not being the fair, trusted aggregator that they claim to be, and it is not looking pretty. Like, CoinMarketCap will tell you, oh, we're in a good position, we can do what we want on our site. But the way that they advertise themselves as being an aggregator and then gatekeeping someone, I've talked with this legal team, and they are heavy firepower, guns out legal team, and
I love it. I love it.
It's not going to play out well for CoinMarketCap. One way or another, either Hex ends up on the first page, or hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion, gets paid out in a class action lawsuit. So we'll see how this all plays out. There's
going to be money that exchanges hands regardless, even if they just say, fuck, you got us, we'll put it on page 1. It's like, no, dude. We got this whole backlog of missing money that we got to catch up here.
Oh, by the way, I had misspoke.
What do we call that? Reparations.
Stream. Yes, reparations. I misspoke on the last stream a week ago. I think I said CoinMarketCap was, or I don't know if I'd said it on the stream, but I'd said it to you that they were acquired for $500 million. No, that is incorrect. CoinMarketCap, the site, was bought for almost $1 billion. So even more is what it was.
That's incredible.
That's what Binance was willing to pay for it, so they could show their projects on the front.
And that's all going to get wrapped under this as well. They're an aggregator. That's all going to get wrapped under this whole new rule set that they're going to roll out, and those sites won't be able to operate the same way.
Yep.
Okay, but let's keep it positive. Let's talk about Pulse Chain, the test net. Yes, the test net has officially launched. So that means, check this out, if you just scroll down, you can go and add into RPC and the same shit you would do to add in another network like Matic, BSC, etc. And you can play around with the test net. Tag it that, like call it whatever you want. You can put whatever you want in the network name. Just call it Pulse Chain Testnet so that you know, and go play around and have some fun with this,
Yes.
Yeah, so
it's fast.
Test that out.
Oh my gosh, it's fast. Oh my gosh, and they've got a faucet to get you some free test pulse. And where's real quick to interrupt? You have to go so GitHub is not where you go for any of the Richard Hart projects. You go to GitLab. Go to GitLab, and there is a link to the faucet within the GitLab.
Okay.
The reason why is there's better developer tools, and it's not owned by Microsoft. GitHub is owned by Microsoft now.
Yeah, they bought them out.
And there's a good chance that open source software can be licensed and stolen later by a larger conglomerate that controls the hosting site. Or what if they just decide they don't like your open source project and they just shut it down?
Yeah, go on.
So,
yeah.
so Richard
I
Hart,
agree.
because their developer tools are better and it's a better place for protection of your IP, they go to GitLab is where they have everything posted. But there is
Cool.
a faucet link within the Pulse chain testnet commit.
And go join that Telegram. I mean, how big is that Telegram? It's got to have like 40,000 plus
nowadays
people.
Pulse chain is getting pretty big.
Yeah, what's it at? I don't want to pull it up.
I don't know. I know I've got 16,000 unread messages in it right now. So
I think it's 41 or 42,000 people are in there. So
yeah, it's I'll tell you
I have a feeling that a lot of people that didn't like Hex or couldn't talk about it or blah 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 are going to jump on Pulse.
There's a lot of people that have said very negative things about Hex that are very much participating in Pulse and did do the sacrifice. So it's just shy of 43,000 members.
Yeah, that's great, and it's growing. So it's already its own little ecosystem, completely separate from Richard, completely separate from Hex. So I mean, it's great to see that, because clearly that was bothering people. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's the same shit that I was going through. They just haven't figured that out yet.
Yep.
So, and that's the biggest shame of all this is like, there's a ton of you that just want to make money. You don't give a shit about tech. You don't really care about sovereignty. You think it's a myth, or maybe you just think it's never going to be possible for you, whatever. You're never going to be able to travel and, have multiple passports, whatever you might be thinking. You still want money and you need money because it's a tool to drive and build you forward. So it's like, regardless of the outcome you're looking for with this shit, man, it's like, you should be looking at things like this. Yeah,
so I'll touch several things, and I think I touched on them last time, but there's three things you really need to do to make it to the point where not just decentralized where they can't shut it off, but there's three things that we really need to do on a society level that I think really helps not just mass adoption, but also helps protect us and insulate us from the coming and impending attacks. And the first one is legacy finance. Somehow crypto's got to participate in legacy finance. I think Grayscale did a good job with their Bitcoin Trust. I just happen to know that there's something being built right now that holds Hex in a similar investment vehicle and will be listed on an exchange at some point in time. Then there's the hearts and minds, the culture, the entertainment, and there's a documentary being filmed right now by a very, very prominent group, a production film house that has already won 4 Emmys, and they heard this story and they latched onto it and they said, we want to be the ones to tell this story. This is a very compelling story. They've done some big projects in the past. Like I said, they've got 4 Emmys. They've worked for some big money conglomerates. And so this is a passion project for them. They want to take on the story of Richard Hart and Hex. So I think you're going to start to see things shake in the way of people's minds, not just awareness, but a lot of these gurus, these fake gurus on YouTube that are getting paid by projects to shill them that won't talk about Hex because Hex won't pay them to do so. They're going to have no choice but to talk about this because it's going to become a powerhouse in society. And then number 3 is we got to get politics going. I've got a small team that's already starting to work on that, already starting to look into what it's going to take to build an effective grassroots community that infiltrates both sides of the political spectrum, because you're not going to have time to put together a third party. You have to infiltrate the parties that exist from the local level and provide them local support, as well as put together a pack. And we're working on those things. Or there's people, I can't say that I personally am, but there's people that have been delegated to do that.
Well, I mean, look, dude, Soros does this shit. I mean, that's all over the place now. Like, everyone knows that he's funding like local DAs all the way on up to smaller candidates to try and work them now all the way to get into positions of big power. But yeah, I just think it'd be great to get people who like are already financially set. That's one of the things I did like about Trump is like he was financially set. So he had no motive. He didn't have to fuck over the American public because he already had a bunch of money. And I think if you get a bunch of people that have already made a bunch of money off trading or Hex, whatever it is, like they have a different set of outcomes that they're looking for and things that drive them forward. And so it's not going to be so easy to just be like, hey, we need you to get on our team on this one. We need you to back us on this one over here, and then we'll get on your one over there. It's like, actually, I don't give a shit. I don't need to be on this, which it goes against my beliefs, just so that you'll give me some support over here, which is exactly how it works now. It's that sad.
Yeah.
Like we need people that are going to go, no, there's this other level way up here that is like it's beyond and broken above this, and shed it above this paradigm that you're trying to create, which is like the only options out are to get with you here so that you'll help me there. It's like, no, here's my pure intention, and this is what we're going for. And now more than ever, like, you can really connect with the public and just tell them, just be honest with them. I think what people really want more than anything is politicians to be more honest, not
honesty
super
and
honest.
Transparency. And I don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you've got an agenda, there's no reason you shouldn't.
Correct.
Well, and if you do have an agenda, just be honest about it.
Yeah.
You're going to rally more people to your cause.
I agree. And I think that politicians still don't think that that works. They still think that they got to be this certain way that everyone else is because that's what everyone wants. It's not. And they're fooling themselves into thinking that that's going to survive. And it's just going to take like one or two people that truly are like broken those shackles and sitting above that hierarchy that really starts to shake things up to where they're just going and transparently talking. And it's not prepared speeches and it's not, all this crap. It's a little bit more truth. I don't think the public's ready for like, here I am, in my birthday suit, but they're ready for like better than what they've got. Yeah. So if you just come out 1 or 2 degrees better than what exists now, you're gonna look like a stud. Absolute stud. Absolute stud. Cool, man. Yeah, maybe I think there's a couple things in the chat. Somebody talked about Thailand. Yeah, is Thailand good for Hex? I actually have no idea. Tune into Hex Asians, which is another stream that Discourse Syndicate does.
We should get you on their show because we've got guys in Singapore, we've got guys in Australia, we've got guys in Tokyo. So the Hex Asians would be a good place for you to come on their stream sometime.
Yeah, I think so too. Thailand is probably pretty good. It's probably, I don't know, because I'm not going to go and broadcast myself. It's like, hey, let's do a Hex meetup. Fuck
yeah.
Yeah. And you guys want to do it? Go for it. Like I said earlier in the stream, go for it. But I am not doing that shit. Especially when I'm a guest and like you got to understand. Like Ken and I were just talking like a couple weeks back. I just got extorted. We like just got extorted from somebody who works in the government who made some shit up on my wife, and we had to pay a bunch of fucking money or we go to jail. Like that's the fucking game, dude. And I think that a lot of people just still don't get this. They still don't get that that's how a lot of the world works. Guys, it's how the world works. I can sit here and tell you.
It's the same over here. They're just more honest about it over there.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that. It's they're basically, they'll tell you, like, this is bullshit. You partook in corruption, and we got you. And so you either pay this or we're going to scoop you up and put you in jail. And they don't have to execute on the lawsuit, which is technically what's been filed to get you arrested in the first place. They don't have to execute on that lawsuit for as long as they fucking want. So what happens between those two time periods is you just sit in jail, my friend. And they're not very nice jails. They're definitely not spending $60,000 to $80,000 per inmate like they do in America. They are not. You're in a shithole and you're sharing a bathroom. And there's some weird stuff that's going to go in some weird places, and we'll just leave it at that.
So let's leave it at that.
We're going to leave that at that. So yeah, man, that stuff is very, very real. So you gotta really watch out for yourself. And yeah,
I appreciate you having me on the show today. I better get going. I've got 3 very large projects that I've got to get stuff knocked out for. I probably won't be able to make it next week. I've got going to Maui for a week. So
nice. Hey, congrats. You didn't tell me that.
Yeah, it's been a while. We were supposed to go April of 2020, and then the vid jumped in. And so now here we are 18 months later getting the ultimatum that you guys either go now or you don't get to go at all. So got to jump through all the hoops that it takes to travel.
They're not that bad, dude. Like getting a couple PCR tests, like I know, I like the sovereignty too, but getting a couple PCR tests, still, that doesn't bug me.
It's not a big deal, no.
Not a big deal.
We just have to have it 72 hours before we travel, so got to make sure we got.
I had to do a lot of those before I got back here, dude. Like even back when I came back in October, holy shit, man. It was just starting to get crazy, and it got worse after I got back. Thank God I'd already been back, but it got way worse after that. Like we're talking like PCRs had to be within like 12 hours, which is sometimes impossible. Multiple PCRs and antigens, being taken, and weird quarantine measures being done. You're basically trapped in a hotel for like 2 weeks. You get to walk around for 1 hour a day, like weird shit.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful. None of that. I didn't have to do any of that, man. I sat in the airport for like 7 hours and with my layovers, and that was it.
Well, it's not going to be too
That was
bad.
it.
So we just have to. The only
Cool.
problem is that the state decided arbitrarily which partners they would accept tests from and which ones they wouldn't. And unfortunately, the nearest testing partner from us is about an hour and a half. So I got to take 3 hours out of my day the day before we go just to go get the PCR test for the whole family so we can go. But
yeah,
it is what it is, and it's worth it for a week in Maui. So.
I would totally agree. Okay, so quick question to the chat. I don't know if we still got people on or not. Do you like this Thursday situation? Should we continue to do this once a week? Should I jump on and we'll just cover different topics?
Yeah, everybody just let us know. This is something that I don't know if I can guarantee it can be there every Thursday, but because we've got so many big projects going on, and right now building out the legacy finance side of things, as well as trying to work with the film crew. In fact, actually, the film crew has offered to hire me an executive assistant to try to help out with streamlining a lot of this stuff. So, the problem is I just don't know what to delegate. I'm not good at that. I'm not good. I can build businesses all day long, but once it comes to delegating responsibilities, it's hard to like really be able to tell myself, well, you're better served in this capacity, and they're better served in that.
I agree. I struggle with that too. It's like, and then you don't realize it, but next thing you know, you're kind of like in the middle of the ocean, and you didn't realize you're that far out, and then you're like, holy shit, I do need help.
Yes.
Because I'm really good at building shit, but I don't realize when I'm in the middle of the oceans yet.
Yeah.
I still don't realize that, and then I'll be looking around, and I'm like, oh, I'm there.
Yes, probably the biggest thing I can give to all you inspiring entrepreneurs out there is hire quickly and hire often.
Yeah.
So
and fire fast too. If they suck, fire fast. Bring them on as a 90-day trial. Bring them on as a 90-day trial.
Fire people, that is for sure.
Yes.
Put together a graph board, so to speak, of all the different roles: accountant, operations, sales, HR, tax, insurance, like all the different roles within a business that need to be taken care of. And if your name is in any one of those boxes, you need to hire. So.
Correct. All right, guys, like, subscribe, do all the shit to get it up in algorithms so that we get more people, grow the community. I think it's important work that we're attempting to do here, and shedding light onto all kinds of this regulation and then options for people, because we really should be standing together. Like KNTX and I are still here together after like 4 years. So,
by the way, shout out Trendy Goat. I love this shirt, dude. It's like koala bears hugging you. It is so comfortable.
Still got
the. These are Jay originals. Just want you guys to know. So we
still got quite a bit of those actually. I got like fucking 4 boxes of that shit still. Because I kind of started too many things. Talk about starting too many things and not finishing. Kind of did that with the merch.
Well, we're gonna work on more merch going forward. So
yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, KNTX, for jumping on with me. Hopefully, we'll have you on again in the future. And tune in next time. See you guys.